Excuse me, sir. Don't you think you look a little foolish over there? You're scraping up the walls of your trailer. I think there's a simpler solution. Hey, man! Got you. Just 1 second. Not the rod. See, I got this coupler here on it, yeah. Hey, just hold up right there. You know how to do a little bit of welding? You tell me, can I weld? What kind of question is that? Next question. You got about, I don't know, $100 hairs? I reckon I can afford 100. Yeah, I can do that. Why don't you come on over here with me? We'll solve this problem, partner. Count me in, partner. Let's rock this hole. All right, man. Whatever you say. All right, so the first thing we're going to get started with is going to be our power source. The thing that's actually going to turn the wheel, a winch. What winch? The Harbor Freight Badland ZXR 2500. Yes, let you get a good view of that. Yes, I do know they've got a smaller winch, but this thing is $69, and you're going to see why I chose this particular winch. It comes with everything already wired up, or whenever this thing is all set to go, you just got to connect 2 wires and boom, you're wired to your battery pack. So, in my opinion, very much easiest and best choice to use for your drive system on this. Go whatever route you want to, I don't care. This is what I use. $69 at Harbor Freight, you can't beat it. So let's get this thing unpackaged and get started. All kind of goodies in here. And at the end of this, you're going to have, I don't know, a few hundred feet of braided wire there. Do something with it. Make an old homemade clothesline or something, I don't care. What do we got in here? Don't be scared of all this, because you're not going to use all that. All we need is this puppy right here. And then extra controller, comes with a automatic remote as well, which is cool. Spare parts, clevis for your old buggy, you know what I'm saying? Strap to beat your wife with, just kidding. And something else we don't need. All right, so let's get all this crap cleared out our way. Get the winch unveiled. Trash, trash. Save these bolts, because you use them. All right. First things first, we're going to take our spool all the way off, and we're going to disassemble this a little bit. You want to gut this thing. We're doing away with all this. Kind of follow along, see how I do it, but you're just more or less, you want all this off. Get this out of there. I'm going to go and remove these 2 Allen bolts, which is a metric Allen wrench. You can figure out the specific size yourself. 2 of those, save them, because you will be using them again. Now, see, we gutted it. You're gonna save 2 things. You're gonna save this metal elbow, and obviously the nuts, bolts that came with it. And you're gonna be using this rod, which goes from here all the way to this handle. 2 Phillips head screws. Now that you got this piece off, and you could have done this before, you need to pull this out where it locks. Get your cutoff wheel and whack that handle off. No longer needed. You will have to cut behind this little Carter key, or you can punch this thing out. Either or. I'm just going to go and cut it, so I ain't got to do with it. All right. This is what you need, all that for this little gear. This other crap, save it, use it. We just know we need it out of here. If you've made it this far, this is what you should look like. You should have your winch, which is bare. your elbow piece, and then this gear. So now it's time to add a little bit to this and add a whole heck of a lot to that. So your next step is, I'm gonna clean mine up a little bit. We'll say one thing real fast. If your winch comes with like a metal little bushing right here, you will need to pop this out. For whatever reason, some of these Harbor Freight winches come with a metal one, which has to be popped out, or they come with like a rubber one. If you got the rubber, just leave the rubber one in there. You do not need to pop it out. That being said, we will pop that out here shortly. Next thing you're gonna need to do is get you some 4-inch flat bar, which I didn't have none, so I just cut some out of some plate. You're gonna cut you a piece that's right at 5 inches in length. Be a little shorter if you need, I just do 5. And all you're gonna do is weld it directly to your elbow. Make sure when you're welding it, you got it clamped, keep it nice and flat. It needs to be the first thing you do. 5-inch long piece of 4-inch flat bar, similar thickness to your elbow, which is like 1/8 inch. Weld it up, grind it all down. Now let that cool so it doesn't flex on you, and then grind off your old weld. This is what you should have. After you sander all them down, it should have somewhat of a factory finish to it. Either way, when it's all painted up, bolted together, nobody's gonna know a difference. Got that out of our way. The reason you gotta cut that is because you will be using some 1-inch DOM, and you will have to drill that out just a skosh. I mean, it just will almost go through. But you need this kind of work almost like a centering device in a way for your DOM, which we will get to this here shortly. I tell you, you guys sure are doing great. Truly impressive what you're doing here. I tell you, saving yourself thousands. Next step. Remember that 1-inch DOM? Get your hole watered out, or that will, you know, oh yeah, go in there pretty easily. And you got your drive piece, that quick release. The deal we cut the little red handle off. You remember what I'm saying, wherever we threw that thing. You need to save this. You don't necessarily need this rod, but it might be nice to leave in just so no dirt can get through. The reason you need that, that is what's actually going to drive this thing. You can see where that fits directly in there. Get your 1-inch DOM and approximately tape measure somewhere around here. Let's give y'all some exact measurements, at least mine, like I've said, not to use it. I cut mine 4 1/4. 1-inch DOM. You're gonna take that, you're gonna take this piece, barely let it sit in there. And I'm not saying get all scientific, all mathematical. Just weld that thing on the very bottom all the way around that DOM tubing. Try to get it as square as you can. If you know how to do that, heck yeah. If not, you know, just do your best, pal. I mean, you're making yourself a tool here. You're already doing good enough. So get that welded up first things first. Try to keep the weld as low as possible and as much of this showing as possible. If you got the right DOM, it should just fall right on through, so it's a good fit. Barely place that inside or just rest it on top. You don't need much. Throw it out a square one direction, tack the opposite side, and that way you can push it over to square. Easy squeezy lemon pie. All right, like I said, tack her on one side, preferably out a square, that way you can tap it square once you get that side tacked. And this ain't gotta be perfect. So as you can see, this is now out of square this way, so I will bump it on over. And then cool all this down, and grind all your weld off. It needs to be smooth, no thicker than the DOM tubing. Keep that in mind. So now you, the viewer, the builder, person doing the job right now, you got to make a decision. And really just depends on what kind of tools you have, or you know, what kind of people you know, one of the two. Now I will show y'all. You will be ordering this part right here, Speedway part, and all it is a steel coupler. I know it looks aluminum, it's not aluminum. You can get this in aluminum, but you can get it in steel. And this is a part number for the steel one, which is what I will be using. Now, with that being said, this is the first one I built, so don't, you know, judge it, okay? This is just all almost like a little jig in a way. I turned this into that. And how I did that was, I took one of these, I put it in a lathe, and I lathed it all down to the smallest diameter. So it was one solid, same size piece, didn't have all these humps in it. And once I did that, I cut it into about 6 of these. Why would you do that? I'll tell you why I did it, because I plan on making more of these. That little $50 part, I've now got 6 of these. I do understand. Some of you do not have access to a lathe, or don't know anybody that does, or you're just trying to make this for yourself, make this as simple as possible. That being said, you don't have to do that. You can do 2 things here. Either A, you can cut you out a piece of flat plate, bore out the center, drill you 3 holes and bolt it directly to this. Or B, you can take this piece that it comes with, you can stick it, let's see, in there just a slight bit, weld this directly to that, and then, you know, weld this to that, which is probably the easiest. But if you do that, you will have to cut about 1 inch shorter than what I did. But you know, you can fit it in your car and figure out that. I've got some 1.5 inch tubing. I think it's like 0.93 or somewhere 0.90 something. With it being that, it's like the inner diameter is just bigger than the outer diameter on your coupling itself. You'll get that, and you will weld this to that. I made mine roughly 1 inch. That way it doesn't go too deep. And then you will get some 1.25 inch tubing, place that on top like so, take this piece, weld all that together, and then you can grind down to a fancy little shape there. And then people will be so impressed, I tell you. They're gonna say, that guy right there, yeah, that guy over there in the open trailer with the 10-year-old car, you see his steering, buddy, the way he did that? That guy right there knows what he's doing. They're gonna take you more serious. They're already picking and poking at you for using one of them freaking 30-foot long rods over there. So do your best work. And it is pretty important that no matter which route you go, face needs to be square with this as much as possible. I like to do this just to make sure. I'll put that through there, slide this over. The only reason I'm doing that is making sure that I'm not putting this piece of tubing where it's going to touch your nipple there. Put that on there. Doing it this way pretty much prevents you from screwing this up. So I've got my 1.5 inch, 1.25 inch, and then my piece on the bottom. Tack all this up, weld it up, grind her down. Make sure that this will slide on and off this thing. You should have something about like that right there. Now you will take your 1 inch DOM, now you're going to want to cool this down, take the old tiger paw to her and shape her on up, or just leave her like that. I don't care. So after doing some grinding, should have you something, looks a little more uniform, like that. So it will set right there. Now you're gonna need your piece, you're gonna need this piece, and you're gonna get yourself two 1-inch, just little spacer deals, those little lock collars is all it is. Get on Amazon, eBay, get yourself two 1-inch lock collars. You don't want to get the lock collars, my friends, and if you're a tightwad, get yourself two 1-inch washers. You're gonna do the same thing, except you'll just have to weld. I like the lock collars because if you ever need to fix it or do something, you loosen the old lock collars and pull this thing up. So remember them Allen bolts you took out? You're gonna need those again. And you're gonna place them bolts back on. Should have you something like that right there. Now, you're gonna take your piece, your two spacers, gonna stick that through, put both pieces on, make sure that goes completely into gear. Slide one of your pieces all the way back as far as possible, and slide one piece all the way as far forward as possible. The reason you're doing that, that's just preventing this thing from going in or out, and that is also working as like a dust shield, prevent dirt getting inside your winch. So now it's time to stop, collaborate, and listen. Take your new invention to your car that you are wishing you could race. Slide your piece on, and this needs, the flat part needs to go on top. And all you're doing is getting an idea for your arms. And the reason I cut mine so short, you got a little lip right here. And if you cut this too long and it goes past this lip, you're gonna catch a lot of hell getting it past this lip. So keep that in mind. That's why I like to do mine about that distance right there. I'm gonna get my deal turned to where it's lined up. By the way, something like that. Now, I've already built one of these, so I already know what I need. This is some 1/2-inch coal roll. And all you do, you don't have to use this, use whatever, is bend you up a piece and just kind of ideal it. You're gonna have two of these because it's just gonna go around one of your bars. So kind of get something together that fits around your valence up here, and have this further back than the face of this. This last bend needs to be further back. It don't matter if it's just a 1/2 inch, but you do not want it past this because a lot of times they'll drive it too close and it'll be getting into your valence and all that. So I've got me something like that right here. I'm gonna bend up one more of those, and then we will weld it onto this. So take your time, get you a piece of all thread or just some thin brass or something, and just bend you something up, get it the way you like it, get you a torch, 1/2-inch coal roll, and then proceed to bend it with that. So now that you got your two pieces made here, before you take this off the car, take these pieces over there, kind of get an idea where you're gonna want it on this plate. I know that I'm gonna want my short side all the way to the back. You're gonna tack both these on, and I'll show you the amount of gap. Remember, the more gap you have between the two bars, if you're doing like a dirt style, the easier, more play you're gonna have getting this thing lined up. If not, you get it too close, you're gonna have to bump the wheel around to get it just right. So I usually like 1.5 inches, and that's pretty good, and that's what I'm gonna go with. Some people like a quart, just as wide as the bar, but easier the better, in my opinion. So I'm gonna get these tacked up, check it on the car once more, and then I'll weld her up. So good news is it fits. Next thing, before I weld this up, I'm gonna add a little cross brace. It's gonna kind of go somewhat towards your top bend up here. Definitely tack that weld up first, then proceed to weld your bottom out. She's a beaut, Clark. I tell you. I don't normally like to, toot my own horn, but beep beep. Look at that right there. Shit, that's about $1.75 in dimes right there. That's if I had, could do that every time, that'd be great. But luckily this time went good. So that's all welded up. You should have you something similar to this right here. Now it's time to get to the electronics. As of right now, you should have your product looking something similar to this. Actually ran mine in between two bars, but it can hug a bar, however you want to do it. That being said, if you do have not a dirt car, more or less like an asphalt car or road course car, obviously this design is not going to be beneficial to you. That being said, you got your center column. I'm sure there's somewhere some sort of placement on your ride, your vehicle, that you could just, all you need to do is have something on each side. That way when this thing goes to turn, it stops on both sides. So you got something on your center column where you can just run a bar off this underneath it on both sides, that'll work. Use your imagination, just more or less make it. It doesn't matter if there's some play, just somewhere where it prevents the winch from just sitting there and turning all the way around. That being said, we're going to take this off, start on our electrical, and get this thing painted up. On my power source, I'm going to run a 12 volt DeWalt battery. Well, I'm actually running an aftermarket DeWalt, but either way, same thing. You can buy these for 12 volt, 20 volt, whatever battery combo you like. Just get on Amazon, eBay, type in, you got Milwaukee, say, hey, I want a Milwaukee 20 volt adapter, 12 volt adapter, etc. You can find them, they're cheap, 15 bucks, you get a couple. That being said, I use the 12 volt because it's the 12 volt winch. So if you go to a 20 volt, which you can, it's going to work, except for it's going to spin almost twice as fast. Now that being said, you can put an inverter on here that reduces it down to 12 volt to get your speed back right. But the thing is with that, it's just more Chinese shit, people. So the less Chinese shit you get on there, the better off you're going to be. So that's why I just go with a nice 12 volt DeWalt. You can also get these batteries aftermarket on Amazon for like 50 bucks, and then you just can commit them batteries just for your steering buddy. All right, so now we'll be going with that. Like I said, whatever battery you want to do. Then you're going to come to this. You're not going to need all this extra wire, so I'm going to snip this off down here, 8 inches or so, even cut some more. And then we'll place this, get it drilled up, ready to mount. And now I'm going to have this on the back side. Kind of place this far enough forward that you're not actually going to drill into your winch itself. You get right behind it, you can get your back bolt in this hole and get your front bent bolt in that hole. Now that you got your holes drilled, you can go and remove these 2 bolts, take your collars loose on your coupling, and we'll go and paint this up. Then we'll attach it all back together and get it all hardwired in. Options are a little limited on the paintage here. We're gonna go with a engine enamel orange, Hemi orange for the coupler. And Rust-Oleum, some sort of grayage from a framework here. Times are hard around here. Okay, I can't just go buy a $10 can spray paint every time I need to do something. So we just rounded up what we got. So now that you're all painted up, got your holes drilled, I'm gonna do a little installation. We'll set this right here. Using the hardware that came with the winch, the smallest bolts, along with some lock washers and flat washers to hold this piece in. Obviously don't have to, but you can't beat free. Definitely recommend doing this before you install the winch back to your plate. Easier to tighten your screws and whatnot. We're at the final step. Before too long, you're gonna be turning and burning, giving a thumbs up. Hell yeah, brother, we got her did. Pretty much all we're doing here. I've got my 12 volt DeWalt battery adapter. As I said before, you do not have to go with this. You can go with 20, whatever. 20 just obviously spin faster. So you got your 2 wires coming out the side of the box. You're gonna run those to the winch itself. You'll have red for positive, white for negative. I actually drilled 2 holes on my frame here and got me some little rubber bushings just to kind of keep the wires from the outside, and then bushings will keep it from rubbing into the metal. Now your 2 wires that come out the front of your box, those are going to go to your battery pack adapter. On my positive, I put a little 10 amp fuse in between, safety first. Got it all bolted back up. And then obviously go ahead and put your sleeves and your shaft back through and installed. I went ahead on my positive, got me some clear epoxy, and just kind of put that on top of it, and just more or less try to help keep this from touching any sort of metal. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could build your little sheet metal box around this to hide it, or just do something like that. So now just testing our product works. That should go in right there. And obviously this does come with a cable attachment, and obviously comes the remote. Remote, you just hold the button on for about 3 seconds. Should be on. So if we're all wired up, this thing should turn properly. Before we throw this on the car, let's just throw that out there. Give or take, y'all know what these things cost. They're like 1,500 doll hairs, my brother. That's ridiculous. That's a set and a half of race car tires. You know what I'm saying? So let's get this thing on the car. Let's see how she does loading up in the trailer. Moment of truth here. Help a brother out, man. So far, I've taught you how to build a pit lift. I've taught you how to build some roll-around stands. Taught you how to build some pit lights. And now I've taught you how to build your own little steering assist loader tool. Just drop a comment and just follow along. There's always gonna be some sort of racing video at some point to help the racer. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and God bless you.